Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Al's Vintage Toy Trains. I hope you're having a great week. So today I wanted to go over 3 outfits for you, and all 3 outfits include the scale detailed passenger cars that first came out in 1941. And this first set is outfit number 2144W, and it was cataloged by Lionel in 1948 and 1949. And this one is headed by the 2332 GG1. And this one's the green with the 5 stripes. And this one has the 3, some people call them Madison cars, some call them the Irvington cars. But here we have the 2625 Irvington. And that's followed by the 2627 Madison. These are sometimes called Madison cars. And lastly, I have 2628 Manhattan. So this outfit is from 1948 or 1949. So that's the first set. Second set is a pre-war set. And this one's headed by the 226. And this one's the unusual 226 in that it has the number plate that normally would have the number, but in this case says Lionel Lines. And 1941 was the year that the Lionel Lines plate came out. I'm not sure of how many came out that way, but it was a short period of time, and it is shown in the Greenberg's reference that 1941 was the year that they replaced the 226 with this plate, probably because of shortages or they ran out of plates, so they used the Lionel Lines plate. So there's the 226, and this is a unique engine, pre-war period. Initially came out in 1938 and ran through 1942. It was the top of the line steamer next to the Hudsons, and I like the firebox glow, which was really a neat feature. And if I can zoom in there, you can see a little bit of a reddish glow, and kind of unique. And this is tethered with a 2226 WX tender, and the X denoted low coupler for the new cars for 1941 as far as the Bakelite cars. So these are also Tuscan, but these are a different shade. The pre-wars are a little different in shade than the post-war. And in this case, mine are all labeled as Manhattans, 2623s. Here's the second one. And then I have a very unusual third one. It's original paint, but it's lacking the 2623 numbers on all 4 corners. So it could be a factory error. For some reason, Lionel never did make the observation car. And we'll reference the catalogs in a little bit. We'll have a little more discussion on these Madison or Irvington cars, or Manhattan cars, or whatever you want to call them. But the near scale detailed cars. And then lastly, I have outfit number 2148, and this one's headed by the 773 from 1950. This will be Lionel's 50th anniversary, and it comes with the 2426W tender, and this will be the last year of this tender. And you'll notice that the 2426 tender is pretty much identical to the pre-war 2226W or WX tenders. Really the only difference is the trucks and the couplers. So this has the pre-war trucks, and this has the post-war trucks. So this 2426W tender was normally tethered with a 726, and that changed in 1950 when Lionel came out with Magna Traction, and they renumbered the Berkshire as 736, and they no longer used this tender with the Berkshire in 1950, and only the 773 would come with this tender. And that has another anomaly with the catalog, because the catalog showed it having a New York Central labeled tender, And you can see in this case that it says Lionel lines. And unique for 1950 on these Madison cars, this would be the last year that they produced these Bakelite cars. And 1950 they added the window silhouettes, so you can see the people within the windows. And 1950 was the only year that they would do that. And so that's the Irvington, the 2625. The Madison, 2627. And lastly, the Manhattan, 2628. So what I'll do now is we'll go ahead and take a look at the catalogs and have a little discussion about the passenger cars that Lionel started in 1941. And without further ado, let's go ahead and look at the catalogs. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with the 1941 catalog, where it all began with these Bakelite passenger cars. And we're going to take a look at the set that I have, and this is outfit number 890W, and it sold for $35. So it did have the 226 in the lead. It came with a 2226WX tender, the X denoting a lower coupler. And Lionel listed these passenger cars as scale proportioned coaches and a scale proportioned observation car. And you'll see that they have the Irvington name for the coaches. And for the observation car, they listed that as the Manhattan, at least in the artwork. In the wording, it just mentioned coaches and observation car. And most of us know that Lionel never did produce this observation car, so what they did is they substituted another coach in lieu of the observation. So the cars I have are all labeled as Manhattans. So I've got 3 Manhattan cars. It's also possible to get 3 cars that are all Irvington. And I know that a lot of people call these Madison cars, but in the pre-war era, they did not use the Madison name, only the Irvington and the Manhattan. So that's the 890W set that I have. Lionel cataloged these passenger cars with 2 other engines. We'll take a quick peek at those. So here we have the 225 engine that has the same passenger cars shown and depicted. Again, Irvington coaches and a Manhattan observation car is what's shown. And that would be outfit number 846W. Let's skip ahead. And if you got the set with the semi-scale Hudson, you ended up with an extra coach or passenger car. So there it is shown with a 763E, and it has the 2226WX tender, and then 4 passenger cars total. And here you can see it shows these as Irvingtons, all 3 of these coaches. And you'll notice the observation car does not have the rear doors like the coaches. So it'll be kind of unique to see that mock-up car that Lionel made to show this for the artist to do the rendering. So again, Lionel never made the observation car in the pre-war period or the post-war period. And let's go ahead and take a look at the individual sale. Lionel only showed the coach, but it did list the 2623 scale. They call it the detailed passenger car as opposed to proportioned on the set. And they also show the 2624 as far as the wording. But again, they never did make that 2624 observation car. So note that they did make 2624s. They're very, very scarce, but they are not observation cars. They're just another coach numbered as such. And if you find one of those 2624s, they're very valuable. Probably over $1,000 if you got one in nice shape, maybe $1,500 or more, $1,700. So those are very hard to find. All right, so that's the 1941 catalog. Let's jump ahead to 1942. And Lionel only had one set in 1942 with those passenger cars. And that was paired up with the scale or semi-scale Hudson, the 763E. And again, it came as a 4-passenger car set. And what's really unique is that if you look closely at the artist rendering here, it shows 2623 Irvingtons. And then they kind of cut off that last car, which is supposed to be the observation. You'll notice that, and it's hard to see here in the video, but it is still labeled as 2624. But when you look at the actual set, it actually lists out 4 number 2623s that came with this set. So it would have been 4 of the same cars. And they could have been Irvingtons, or they could have been Manhattans. And again, they did not make a Madison name in the pre-war period. So that's the pre-war cars. And just trying to give you a little bit of insight on these passenger cars. So they're made of Bakelite. And these are hard to find in nice shape because the Bakelite is prone to flaking, where the paint doesn't always adhere nicely to it. So to find pristine examples is very hard. A lot of times you'll see little nicks and whatnot, and they will be showing up as black, since it was black Bakelite. All right, so that is the 1941 and 42 catalogs. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump ahead to the 1946 catalog for the post-war period. And there were 2 sets that Lionel produced with these passenger cars. And this first one has a turbine leading the way. And in this depiction, it shows 3 of the cars labeled as Irvington, all numbered 2625. And so this is 1946. And we'll jump ahead. And here's the other 2 sets that were depicted. So you see the 2114 WS set. This is a Berkshire leading the way with 3 Irvington cars, and all labeled 2625. And so that is the second set that Lionel produced for 1946. And oddly enough, and most people would love to have had this set, and it was labeled as 2116 WS. And you'll note that it's an engine that Lionel never produced. This was the 703 Hudson that was a carryover, or was supposed to be a carryover from the pre-war period. But unfortunately, Lionel never did produce this. And if we go ahead and take a look at the price sheet that comes with the catalog, that particular set, the 2116 WS and the 2117 WS, at the very bottom, said not to be manufactured in 1946. And they were never manufactured with that engine number. We would have to wait until 1950 when Lionel came out with the 773 Hudson to take the place of the 703 that was never made. All right, so that's the 1946 catalog. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into the 1947 catalog now. And Lionel again produced these passenger cars with a 671 turbine. And it sold for $65. And it was listed as the 2126 WS. And it shows in the depiction anyway, Irvingtons. And also new for this year in 1947 was the GG1. It's kind of funny how in the catalog it shows the GG1 as the 4911, when in reality they stamped it as the 2332. And from what I understand, they called it the 2332 because of the wheel arrangement. So, and it was grouped as a 2332 wheel arrangement. So that's why they came up with that name, from what I understand. And it also came with what's shown here as Irvington labeled passenger cars. So in 1946 and 1947, Lionel did produce Irvingtons, Madisons, and Manhattans, all with the same number, and they were all listed as 2625. All right, jump ahead to 1948. And this year they added the 726 back in with these passenger cars. And this was listed as the 2146 WS. And in 1948, Lionel finally came up with a different catalog number for each of the names. So the Irvington was the 2625, the Madison was the 2627, and the Manhattan was the 2628. And it would stay this way through 1950. So with the Berkshire, this outfit went for $75. The previous year, the GG1, I think, was $62.50. And so the price jumped a little bit to 1948. Here's the GG1, now with the correct catalog number on it, the 2332. And it shows each of the passenger cars with a different name and a different number. And instead of being $62.50, it is now $67.50. So it jumped $5 in 1948. $19.49. Here we have the GG1 again, the 2144W, just like 48. And it also is the same price, $67.50. So it has the three same different named cars, the 2625, 2627, and 2628 for the designated numbers. All right, we'll jump ahead. And by 1950, only the 773 would have the passenger cars. This would be the last year that Lionel made these Bakelite cars. And what was new for 1950 was the addition of the silhouetted window inserts. So now it looks like there's people sitting inside each of these passenger cars. And unfortunately, Lionel never did make the observation car in the pre-war or post-war period. And again, it's kind of funny how a lot of people call these Madison cars, but in the pre-war period, they didn't make it as a Madison, only Irvington and Manhattan. It wasn't until the post-war period that they would come out with the name Madison for one of these cars. And this set went for $85. And this is the set I have on the layout as well, along with the GG1 and the 226. All right, that's the catalogs. Let's go ahead and run these sets for you. All right, before running these, I just wanted to get a little more close-up on these passenger cars, and we'll talk about them just briefly. So, very well detailed. Again, it's carryover from 1941. They carried these through to 1950. This is the 48-49 version with the GG1. And lots of detail. You can see the rivets. The lines on it are nice. It's semi-scaled proportioned. It's got the 6-wheel trucks. The doors are actually sprung, which is kind of neat. And post-war version, obviously, with the post-war knuckles. There's 2 lamps inside, so it's illuminated with 2 bulbs. And we'll jump over to the pre-war version, 1941. And this one's just a different shade of the Tuscan brown. I'm not sure why, but the pre-war, some of the pre-wars were a different shade than the post-war. And this is the one without the heat-stamped numbering that you see here. And these being pre-war, they're in nice shape. Has the 6-wheel trucks just like the post-war, except they're pre-war type trucks. Has the automatic couplers. These are the lower couplers that Lionel was kind of going to in the pre-war period. Hence the 24 or the 2226W extender, just denoting a lower coupler than the normal 2226W. And again, the mold is the same between the pre-war and the post-war and the detailing. And really like these cars. And here's the 1950 version with the silhouettes. This one's got a little bit of flaking off the Bakelite, as you can see here, with some of the black showing through. But still, these cars are in pretty decent shape otherwise. All right, so that's a closer look at the cars. Let's go ahead and run these. All right, we're going to go ahead and run these sets for you. We'll start with the 2144W. Next will be the 890W. And the 2148 WS. 1950. Here we got the 773 leading the way. Really love these passenger cars. It's kind of nice to have a couple of sets that are representative of different periods. Pre-war period. Along with the post-war period. I like the ones with the silhouettes. I really love my pre-war 226. Who doesn't like a 1950 773 Hudson? I suppose if I wanted an observation car, I could get one of the ones that were made later by Lionel. Passenger cars are kind of my favorites. I like how they illuminate. A lot of character to them. These are well-proportioned cars. I think they look well with the 226 and the 773 Hudson, as well as the GG1. Let me know in the comments what you think. This is Al, and thank you very much for watching.